Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow. Financial freedom's where we go. Smart investments, money flow.
Hey, babe. What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about how early into a relationship you should start talking about money.
That is a very interesting one for people because I would say that normally, obviously, money is one of those taboo topics, and most people don't want to talk about it even after they're married. So,
Yeah, I just don't think that people talk about it at all. And there's like this awkward air about money, and it stresses people out. People feel guilt and shame around past money mistakes, and then they just don't want to be vulnerable with their partner or the person they're dating, because it's like, you are like uncovering yourself.
I think also too with like how dating is now. I mean, obviously, I don't know how dating is now, but from our, my brother and some of our friends that are still single, that dating in and of itself is harder as you get older, let alone adding this extra layer of talking about money early on, because, if you are not on the same page as your partner when it comes to how you want to handle your finances, I can tell you that that's probably not going to work out as far as from a relationship standpoint.
Well, you need money to survive. So talking about money early, I think, is just as important, especially because we're getting older and we shouldn't just be dating to date. Hopefully you're dating because you want to be in a long-term relationship. Maybe you want to be married. Maybe you still want children. Like, time is of the essence. I mean, I personally don't have any time to waste. So you not knowing, like, if somebody wants a child early on, like, we probably don't need to go past date 1 or 2. I don't want to be month 6 finding out you want 6 children or you want no children. Like, we need to find that out early so that we can figure out, do we need to keep going? I think it's the same thing for talking about money. I mean, realistically, let's say you are with somebody who wants a homemaker and you are a woman who is career driven, you've got goals, you've got certifications and licenses and all these degrees, and now you are dating somebody that's like, no, I want you barefoot and pregnant at home with our babies. What? That's not going to work.
So let's break it down maybe by like age, as far as what you think, how early on you should start talking about money when you're dating. Let's say you're in your mid to late 20s. How early do you think they should start talking about money? Like how many dates in, how many months in?
Are we in college or are we post-college?
No, I said
mid to late.
Mid to late 20s. So you're not...
Listen, my answer is going to stay the same. You talk about it as early as possible. Like, honestly, so what? You just graduated college a few years ago. You're early in career. Do you have student loans? Do you not have student loans? Did you get scholarships? How much are you paying for your student loans?
So we're talking month, like date 1, date 2.
I would say in the first, like, let's say you're seeing each other once a week. I would say by month 2, it needs to have come up.
Okay, so we're assuming
60
that
days.
Maybe you've gone on at least 4 or 5 dates.
Sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't know. How often are people seeing each other? Like, let's assume you don't have kids, you're working. I mean, are you seeing each other like midweek couple times or just on the weekends? I mean, obviously it depends on how often you see that person. But like you said, if you're seeing that person...
You're not exclusive, so maybe you're seeing multiple people.
Listen, I don't know what y'all be doing out in these streets these days.
Well, we're assuming, for
we
example,
haven't dated in a long time, so...
The money conversation comes up because maybe you are interested in seeing this person longer term. So like,
sure,
like you said, a couple dates in, because I don't necessarily think that needs to be spoken about on the first date.
No,
because you're just trying to have fun and get to know each other. The first couple dates, you're just having that more light talk to just know more about the person and understand who they are.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, it sounds like, based on things happening on the internets, that people are coming up against these types of scenarios where, like, maybe you will talk about money early, right? Because apparently there's dudes out here now that are like, let's go 50-50. There's women out here that are like, I don't even want the pressure of somebody thinking that I'm going on this date for a free meal. Like, I don't know that anybody has that kind of time to waste. So some people are just like, listen, let's split it. I got myself, you got yourself. I know that there's like this whole other element of like, we're no longer doing dinner dates because it's too much time, too much money. So like, let's meet for coffee and like a walk around the park and keep it super low stakes.
I like that idea, especially for
I
like the
think so,
first date.
too.
I think, yeah, I think
You don't need to drop $100 on somebody you don't know.
Yeah, I agree with
Or
that.
more. You know, dinner is expensive.
I agree with that as a guy who went on multiple dates prior to obviously meeting you, and
It would add up. Like if you're genuinely trying to meet somebody.
It does add up quickly.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that might be one of those things where it can go a lot of different ways, right? Let's say I'm going to speak from the woman's perspective. I think some women would be super offended if you were like, hey, let's go 50-50, or like, you know, are you good with paying for yourself? I think there are women who are like, absolutely not. That's just never how I'm going to roll. And then there's other women who are going to be like, yeah, absolutely. Like, that's totally fair. So I think it's a good discussion point, like if it comes up.
I honestly also think that discussion could happen before the date, because obviously,
don't have me show up.
Nowadays you've matched on an app, you're communicating back and forth, whether it's via text or it seems like a lot of people nowadays for some reason don't talk to the person before actually meeting them, which is kind of crazy to me. But
Listen.
You've had some type of communication with the person prior to actually going on the first date. So especially as a guy, if you are one of those guys where like, I wanted to go 50-50 on the first date, which I'm not knocking anybody, do what works for you, I think you should verbalize that. I think hey, are you okay? Are you okay with going 50-50? Because
how do you feel about?
Yeah, because if she says no and you are very much like, I think we should, then that kind of gives you the idea that, hey, maybe we don't need to go on a date.
Right, 100%.
Guys, I never did that, but I've seen things now where guys use that to gauge different things, whether it's right or wrong. Because
it's like a test, though. I don't like it if it's a test.
I wouldn't say it's a test. I say gauge. So like the way that if I was
gauging, other men are testing.
Yeah, some people are testing. So I would use it in the sense of, if I was going to use it, to be like, are you looking for like, also you just had the conversation, because like when we were like, I'm the type of person where I want to pay for the first dates, but I also did want, you know, a 50-50 or whatever that may be as far as contribution in the marriage. So I think you could pay for the first few dates, and that woman still being 100% on board for being 50-50 in the relationship as it goes forward.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I don't believe in 50-50. And I know what you mean by 50-50, but
50-50 effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not necessarily the details and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you can gather a lot of information from somebody based on how they approach that conversation. I definitely think, like you said, it needs to be had before we show up to wherever we are going. And I think also, you know, we've Tori Dunlap from her first 100K, you know, she's obviously a multimillionaire, and her partner, I don't even think, based on the information I know, that he makes six figures. So there's a huge wage gap, right? Yeah. And she wrote an article, or was featured in an article, where on their first date, he said, listen, I've looked you up. I understand what you're about. I do not make as much money as you. However, even though I understand you are very capable of paying for your own meal, I would like to pay for you. Is that okay? And they actually just celebrated their 3-year anniversary. And I just think it's so important to establish those dynamics. Just because you don't earn the same amount or whatever that dynamic is, doesn't mean that you can't talk about it and verbalize it and show up in other ways that are meaningful, right? Like there was another post, I think, recently where he had been saving up to take her to like a Michelin star or multi-Michelin star restaurant. That's a big sacrifice for him because he is a lower earner, but it meant so much to her because she knows it's not just something where he can slap his card down and it not be thoughtful. So I think it's really, when you get into the relationship, it's really about the effort and the meaning behind it, right? Like,
yeah, I agree.
I think that's what it is. It's the intentionality of showing up for your partner aside from what the money is, right? Like if you think about you're in high school or you're in college, like you don't have a lot of money. That doesn't mean you can't plan a meaningful date. That doesn't mean that you can't show up having shown sacrifice and intentionality, right? So I think that the conversation should show up early, regardless of age. And I think that there's a variety of ways that you can do it that don't come across intimidating. And I think that's what people need to focus on.
I think that is 100% the point. Because I think in this day and age, I think men are having this battle against women in regards to intimidation, where like they're trying to say that women aren't letting men be men and women are trying to be men. I think that's...
Listen, nobody's trying to be out here trying to be a man. We are all out here trying to be in our soft life era. Okay, let me be very clear. We are all seeking the soft life at this point.
I also think that, you know, if you're a man who's constantly coming across women that you think want to be men, maybe you're not being a man and they have to be. Because you also got to take some looking internally. You know, if you're not providing that stability or whatever she needs, quote unquote, the man qualities, then maybe that's why she's acting that way.
Yes, like, listen, things need to get done for us to then sit down on the couch and relax to do nothing. I know I personally struggle with this. I cannot sit on the couch and watch TV and do nothing, even though I need it physically, when the laundry's not done and the counters need to be cleaned and there's little dust bunnies and, you know, the book bags haven't been cleaned out and the lunches haven't been prepared and the list never ends. So in order for me to sit down and feel rested, feel calm, feel relaxed, we all need to do our part. And so I think for you to do all the things that you know are meaningful, for me to be able to find peace and calm, not that I feel like I've ever shown up as the man, right? But like, you need to do your part. To what you said, you as a man, if you want to show up as the man and not say, oh, she's trying to take over, she's trying to be a man, well, then you need to do the things that allow her to be in her soft girl era.
And also in this day and age, if, you know, a lot of households, because everything is expensive and it's just going to get more expensive. And so most households are dual income. So if both of you guys are working and bringing in income, then also the work at home should be split. It shouldn't necessarily be this traditional thing where if you're both working, where you come home and the woman is still doing a lot of the household stuff. So you should split it. And I'm telling you guys, like, if you want more one-on-one time with your wife, take care of these things. Fold the laundry, you know, clean the bathroom, make sure the dishes are in the dishwasher and put away. Like,
gas up her car,
do all those things, and that's going to lead to her being in a better mood and more relaxed for you to have some more one-on-one time.
Yes. Okay, but before we can get to all the one-on-one time, let's talk about the ways that you can approach a money conversation. Honestly, at any point in life, whether you're, you know, senior year of high school, senior year of college, mid-20s, early 30s, I think it's about taking the intimidation out of the money conversation. And I think you could start with something easy, right? Like, let's say you're in the younger years, and I think this would work even if you're in your 40s or beyond. Finding out what's the first bill you had to pay, right?
Yeah.
Like, was it your cell phone? Was it your car insurance? Because you're going to have people that are like, I've been paying everything since I was able to have a job and I was 15 years old. And then you're going to have other people who are like, I still don't pay my own bills and I'm 32 years old and I'm still out here, you know, on my parents' phone bill. And
so it's even the difference between me and you. Like, you had I played sports in high school, so I didn't work throughout the year. I worked in the summers, but I worked in the year. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't pay for like my own gas or my own insurance or anything in my car, and you did.
Yeah, my parents bought me my first car, and the rule was you have to pay for the insurance and the gas and all maintenance and upkeep. Now, that's not to say that they didn't pitch in, but that was the expectation, that they provide the vehicle and I maintain it so that it's safe and drivable. And I took care of that thing. Every Saturday, I cleaned it, I vacuumed it out. One thing about me, I like a clean car to this day. So, yeah, I mean, those are big differences. Like, I was working throughout high school, throughout college, 30 plus hours a week. Like, I would go straight from school and I had band practice and whatever into working. And there was times I didn't get home until, 10 plus at night. And that was fine. Like, I mean, that was the expectation, is like, if I want spending money, I need to make money. And if I want to drive this car, I mean, that was back in the day, you could, get half a tank on $5, which was amazing. I mean, literally, I remember being like, oh, let me put $3 in. And you would be able to like go up the road, Yeah.
And like, I didn't start working like on a consistent basis till I was the summer after my sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
And then I started working like, 30 hours a week or so. And then probably during the school year, I was doing like 24 hours a week.
Well, and I think even a simple question like that helps you understand, like, if our children, once they hit high school, what's the expectation going to be? Because I can tell you, we've had these conversations, and because I worked and Brandon didn't, right? Not that I didn't have extracurriculars, not that I wasn't involved in things. His is always like, well, I was in sports, I didn't have time. And I'm like, I was in things and I had to make the time, right? So
Not the same.
we have
Not the
differences
same.
of opinion there, but it's a good way to spark the conversation, right? You could also,
I'm just saying, like, I get out of school, I'd go straight to practice. And then I'd have to drive home, and I'd get home around 7:30.
okay, so you
do
could
my
still work
work.
a 3-hour shift at the Piggly Wiggly.
So you weren't going to bed until like midnight. When did you do your homework?
I mean, it got done. I don't know.
But then like on Saturdays and Sundays, I was at games all day.
That's fine.
I'm just saying, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, if you don't like, I don't think that makes sense. Like,
what
for
I'm
you to
saying
do-
is
for you to do all that-
See how that simple conversation or that simple question can spark this kind of a dialogue?
like
That's all it takes.
like for your kids, like it didn't make sense for like if you don't need like understand instilling work ethic, because that's really what it is instilling work ethic
and discipline. Yes, yeah.
You could do that by not having your kid have to go to bed at midnight every night to get everything done.
Totally. And I'm not over here like I got it out the mud. Now I need my kids to get it out the mud. No, that's not what this is.
That's funny.
We're talking about sparking conversation.
Yes.
And even between us, almost how many years have we been doing this?
Well, we'll be 9 years married.
Okay.
And
over a decade together. So it still sparks conversation.
Yeah.
That's the point. Choose questions that spark the conversation without intimidation.
Question. Do you think would be a good question like early on in the date as far as, hey, if you were doing the lottery, what would you do?
100%. That was going to be my next one, right? Like if you didn't have to pay another bill ever in your life, like how would you spend your time? What would you do? If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you would buy? Those types of questions help you dream. They lead right back into our dream framework, right? Where you're diving into somebody's past, you're reflecting how it shows up in your current, you're engaging, and then those three elements can go into how you act and manage your money, right? Like the actions you take to manage your money. But I mean, 100% you want to know, like, is somebody, if somebody won the lottery and they're like, I would buy a mansion and 12 cars. Oh, okay. Like, no judgment. That's great. But like, that might make me ask a couple of other questions, right? Because to me, that says maybe you value material things over experiences. I'm a big experience person, right? Like, are we going to sync up in that way? If you won the lottery and you're like, I want a Ferrari, and I'm like, I want to like feed the kids in Bali, like, okay, maybe we need to dive a little further into that conversation.
I mean, you can also have the conversation of asking like, just how was your upbringing? I mean, like, how was things?
Did you get an allowance?
Like,
who paid the bills in your house?
I mean, you don't even necessarily go that deep initially. Like,
no, but you're
staggering. I think also finding out about somebody's upbringing can also dictate like maybe how they think about things or how money was in their family. So, for example, if I'm asking somebody like, if they're local, oh, where'd you go to high school? And there's a big difference. Like, I went to a nice public high school here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Nice public high school. Kids have some money, but it wasn't Ravenscroft where you're paying like $30,000 a year to go.
Right. That
Mine
can tell you something.
Public school. So it makes a difference in maybe how your upbringing was and how, money was handled.
Yeah, I think all of those types of questions, which I think naturally, right? Don't you want to know how somebody was raised, what their upbringing was? Are your parents still together? Are they not?
Yeah.
Who was maybe who was the breadwinner in your home? How did you see the bills getting paid? Like, I mean, I would want to know, did you grow up with, a scarcity mindset? Did you struggle? Or, like Brandon and his brother spent their summers in Europe playing soccer with a single mom paying all the bills, right? Like that's very indicative of really interesting elements of your childhood, because I would say financially, you guys were probably better off than many dual income households.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And So when we started, seriously dating, I knew that you weren't going to have a problem with me being somebody who values my career, because that's what you saw from your mom. So I think those are things that are important to talk about. Like, was your mom a stay-at-home mom? Was one of your parents a stay-at-home parent? How many people were in your home? All of those things.
I mean, honestly, I feel like this is the light question to say, like, hey, like, if we were to eventually continue dating, we moved in together, will we split bills?
And how would we split them?
Yeah.
Right? Because this whole notion of like 50-50, well, if one of us makes significantly more than the other person, why are we splitting things 50-50? Like, let's say you make $100,000 a year and I make $40,000 a year. Why are we both putting $700 into our rent? Like, now I'm going to be struggling, even though you are quote unquote catching a break, because now I'm contributing. Like, talk about those things.
Yeah.
I think those are really fair conversations to have. And you might want to have some sort of an agreement in place, just because it's a romantic relationship. What kind of contract would you put in place with a regular roommate? Like, what are the expectations there? It's just like, hey, you get the bigger room with the bathroom and the bigger closet.
We haven't got there yet.
You
Remember?
pay more.
This is still having that conversation about money. Because the reason I say that, the reason I brought that up is because I sometimes my brother talks to me about some of the his dating experiences, and he had gone out with someone who had a job and was making decent money. And when he brought the conversation of talking about like money and stuff like that, she was like, "Oh, I expect you to I would expect the guy to pay for everything." And he's like,
so silly.
And he was like, even while you're working, if we're making the same amount of money, and she's like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, that's not going to work.
But I think, okay, so let's talk about that, right? So Tiffany Aliche, the budgetnista, talked about how she was a higher earner and her husband, who's since passed away, I think never earned more than like $60,000 a year. And I think he worked for the city or the state. And so what they did is my understanding is that she covered all of the household bills, and then his salary went to their savings, their investments, etc. So It was like they were living off of her income, and his income was funding the retirement account. So like you can come up with ways that make sense.
I think though, if that's what she was thinking, she would have followed it up with that second part.
100% agree.
Like you wouldn't just say, no, I expect the guy to pay for everything. I'm not going to do anything. If you plan on you pay for this and then I'll put our money into the savings and investing. Like, I don't think that's what she was thinking.
Well, and that's also fine, right? Maybe that conversation could have parlayed into, hey, if it's possible, I would like for you to pay for everything for X amount of time because I have this much debt and I want to wipe that out before we get married.
That wasn't what she followed it up with either.
I understand what I'm saying.
There was no follow-up.
What I'm saying is there could be follow-up where you can make a plan around what that looks like. But ultimately, my take is start the conversation as early as possible and start from a place of wonder in the sense of, tell me about your upbringing. Tell me about how things got done in your home. What age did you get a car? Like, did you have a budget for prom? Have you traveled internationally? Like, if you could go on your dream vacation or buy your dream car, which one would you choose? Like, those are all super easy, fun conversation topics that you can have that aren't, tell me how much you make. How much are you contributing to your 401k?
Yeah,
right?
We're not saying early on that you need to ask somebody like how much you make, because that's gonna rub people. Like I would be rubbed the wrong way if we're on the first, second, third date and you're like, how much do you make? Yeah. You can have other conversations to gauge how someone interacts with money or their knowledge about finances without asking them how much they make or how much money they have.
Right. Well, and too, I mean, listen, something as simple as somebody putting down a credit card. Oh, why did you choose that credit card? Oh, because I used my points and miles. Or
I never thought of that one. That's a good one.
Like you have an Amex Platinum. Like, I heard that fee is super high. Like, what are the benefits that you get out of it? Even something like that
seems way more innocent.
It's curious, right? It's like you're being curious, but like it could tell you a lot. Because that person could be like, oh yeah, I don't really know what the benefits are, which to me would be a red flag because you're spending $700 to have that card.
Yeah.
Like I would be able to rattle off every single benefit I get from our Amex Platinum,
Yes,
right?
you can.
Or why the Capital One Venture is a really good card and how we've used it, or even something like that. If somebody responds with like, oh yeah, I use this to, book my flights because I really love travel and I try to do it as much on points as possible, like even something like that can start to help you understand that person's mindset around money. And it can either set off some red flags, or it could be like, hey, this person like seems financially responsible. Like, let me ask a couple more questions that are in that direction so I can see, like, are you paying off your credit card every single month? Like, are you carrying debt? I mean, even something as simple as like, hey, did you get scholarships for college? No, I had to take out student loans. Oh man, like there's so much craziness going on with the student loan industry. Like, how are you handling that? Right. And they could respond with, oh, I've paid them off, or I was super frugal for a couple of years and I've already paid them off. Or like, yeah, it's a super struggle and my bill's $1,500 a month. Like, it doesn't have to be intimidating to just honestly be curious. All you're doing is you're being curious. And you know me, I rattle off 30 questions before your eyes are fully open. So
Still to this day.
for me, asking questions is no big deal, but take the intimidation out by just asking about how they grew up, what their experiences are around money, the things that they value. Is it material things? Is it experiences? Like, those are things that will, honestly, if you end up in a relationship, will be very important. Because if you're somebody who, is all about experiences or fine dining or traveling the world, and your partner is all about, labels and brands, that might not be a good mix,
Yes, probably
like,
not going to be a fit.
so try to take the intimidation out.
So what would you say if you were to anyone out there if they're on a date and they're trying to have these conversations the same way that we're talking about, and the other person is kind of resistant to it?
Red flag. And listen, I don't mean that in the sense of
Yellow flag, maybe.
Yellow-ish, red adjacent, because I want to be with somebody who can have a conversation, who can dialogue, so that not that I get the answer that I want, but that I understand where you're coming from. I get the context, and you are mature enough to have a difficult conversation. Because if you can't have a difficult conversation in the beginning of your relationship, you're not going to be able to have a difficult conversation when it matters. And there's always difficult conversations to have, especially as your relationship progresses, right? Yeah. Where do you live? How much should you spend on rent? How much can you afford for your mortgage? Where do you send your kids to school? What kind of car seat are you going to buy? Do we need organic strawberries? Do we not? Whatever it is, you will have conversations. And if you are with somebody who cannot have conversations because they feel hard or difficult, that to me is worrisome, because you're probably never going to be able to have the conversations that you want.
I agree. I mean, it's all about communication, and that starts early in the relationship.
Listen, and I'm not here to teach you how to communicate. You're an adult and you need to do that on your own, and I don't have time to help you through that.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions that have worked for you in understanding more about your partner's finances, and you did it early on, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment, slide in our DMs, let us know what question got you the answers that you needed from your partner to have a better conversation around money, and we will share them with our audience. But my take is, have the conversation as early as possible. At least start getting curious.
Within that first month.
Yes, within the first month.
Because time is your most precious asset.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste it with someone that's not on the same page with you.
Absolutely. Don't be out here wasting time trying to square peg, round hole. It's only going to lead to more problems in the future. So, all right. We want to hear from you. If you've had really good money conversations with your partner or in a dating situation, let us know. Until next time.
Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow. Financial freedom's where we go. Smart investments, money.